What is going on, everybody? I am Chase here with I wouldn't necessarily say it's special from screen to shelf review like I usually do. I just got out of Megalopolis a few hours ago. I've had to let it soak in. As of the time of this going up, saw it like a 9, 10 o'clock morning showing, and it was an interesting way to start my day. So, long story short, a lot of people that are probably clicking on this or that are in like the cinema buff based world, I guess you could say, for a lack of better terms, that can't come to my head right now, are aware of this movie's existence and understand a lot of the nuances and what it's gone through. They even have a publisher or a distributor or anything. I believe it was Lionsgate that picked it up, and that's why we have it out in theaters now. It was the talk of the town whenever it premiered at Cannes, because literally, if you would go on Letterboxd or any review site, the aggregation would be like, half star, 5 star. Like, it was just a massive, looked like a sound wave. So, um, geez, where do I even start? So apparently he started like trying to make this movie in the early 80s based on what I could find. And I find that absolutely insane that he's been trying to get this going for just under 40 or over 40 years. And the wild part and why it baffles me is how shittily made and put together it is. Like I don't have any other words. Like, these types of movies, like the utopia slash dystopia movies, I've said it on here before. Like, as much as I love horror and I live and breathe it, I absolutely love sci-fi. That is what like kickstarted like my love for movies. Was like a lot of people know that Forbidden Planet, Logan's Run, Soylent Green, Star Wars, and a few of those are like dystopian based movies, and I absolutely adore those movies. So like, even though it's mixed bag of reviews and stuff, I figured I might enjoy this a little bit more than others. In the initial 20, 30 minutes, I was kind of fully invested in leaping into the world that they were kind of presenting to us here. And then it just right around like the 35, 40 minute mark, and this movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes, it just fucking loses me. Like, no spoilers in this entire review, but one of the most baffling parts is, I'd say, teetering at the end of the first act to the second act. I'd say about, I don't know, I wasn't timing it, but it felt at least like 30 minutes was just this weightless ass carnival sequence that really had no fucking weight to it. Like, none. They would constantly introduce these plot threads just to have like, um what is it, the Charlie, I believe is his name, from Always Sunny, where he's got like all the red string and stuff like that everywhere. That's how I'd kind of compare this movie. Like, you have all these fucking strings going everywhere, but it leads nowhere. They just keep ending with no resolution, and then they'll jump onto another thing, then another thing, then another thing, then another thing. By the end of the movie, I was so confused as to what was going on, and I was following it so closely. And I really just don't have a good way of really describing it. So, I just don't know. Like, I really wanted to like it. The ideas of this, like, it's in the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler, but they have like this time stop mechanism, but it gets used like less than a handful of times, and it reminded me of this game I used to absolutely love. It's still one of my favorite first person shooters, but like Singularity, where you can kind of alter time, stop it, freeze it, reverse it, go forward, or age or de-age things. And it got me excited. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You want to build this, this future, this new city, and you want to kind of govern it this way, do this, and then do that. Oh, well, with this kind of like time manipulation on your side, I figured you can kind of do some cool things. And I thought Francis was kind of cooking here. And it just leads fucking nowhere. Like, it's really hard to explain why it leads nowhere without spoilers, but I want to leave this spoiler free because I don't want to spoil it. Maybe I could talk about this movie on an entire podcast episode. Adam Driver isn't bad. He's an absolutely phenomenal actor. I personally believe that he was the best part of the sequels. I think he absolutely outshined everybody that was prevalent on screen. And Aubrey Plaza is probably the one that gives it the absolute most. But I feel like Francis was telling Adam Driver to like not do certain things or to be super fucking stiff. Kind of like how it felt like with Hayden Christensen in episode 2 for Attack of the Clones, where it's like he's not a horrible actor, but George Lucas wanted him to act a certain way. And that's kind of the vibes I got from this. He just wasn't that interesting. He felt super disconnected, which was the point. But you shouldn't be disconnected from the audience, if you know what I mean, you know? I should be able to understand the motives, and I should be able to understand, and I was able to a degree, but the motives were always fucking changing. Like, again, all these plot threads, all of this whole fucking spider web. Aubrey Plaza will, like, she's great, she is just so animated and so good. Shia LaBeouf's in here. It's kind of cool to see him back, doing some things. I think he's a great talent on screen, despite how you may feel about his, off-screen antics and stuff like that. I think that he brings a lot of charisma to anything that he's in, and I think he's probably the best part of this Transformers movies. He's great in Disturbia. He's great in a movie called Eagle Eye. He's great in Nymphomaniac, and it's just kind of cool, like the character that he plays. But his character has no fucking motives for what he's doing. Like, there's like one sentence in there that kind of drops what he kind of has his motive for, but it makes no sense. It makes absolutely none. So Ah, I believe her name's Natalie Emmanuel. She does really, really well. She just kind of is not really typecasted, but she just has like a very typecasty role, where there's nothing special about it. Giancarlo Esposito, I don't believe the dynamic of Giancarlo and Adam Driver really get explored enough. It's in such short bursts where they're at each other's throats and stuff like this. They don't like each other, and there's a really, really good scene at the very beginning of it, but again, they don't really flesh it out to the fullest capability. This movie felt like it was trying to be at least a part one of two, or it even feels like it was trying to be 3 hours long. I probably would have rather have it been longer and had all of these plot thread resolutions rather than what we got, where it just felt like jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, jump cut. There's these like acid trip sequences. I'm not saying they do acid or stuff, but it's like this acid or psychedelic sequences that happen. There's some absolutely gorgeous sequences in this movie. Like, there really is. There's parts that are absolute eye candy. But then again, this is where this movie gets in its own fucking way. Then there's some absolutely disgusting looking CGI that is dated on arrival that feels like it's from 10, 15 years ago. And it's just so weird because you'll have this really, really nice blend where you have this practical effects where CGI is blended into it and it looks really nice. But then you get some dog shit CGI. Like, again, this isn't a spoiler, but there's like this scene where one of the characters is playing with, I would kind of relate it to like whenever you're a kid and you're playing the game with the balloon where you're trying to keep it up in the air and go bah bah. It's like a ball like that, but it has a lot of velocity and power behind it, and it looks terrible. It doesn't look like it was even half finished. There's some really awful CGI in here. Again, like, there are some parts, like, I was sitting at a strong, like, 7, 7.5. Oh, this movie's not as bad as people see. I can see why some people are liking it, and I kinda understand why others aren't. But this movie, again, was up my alley for that first 30 through 25 minutes or so, and I was just having not a blast, but just enjoying it. We don't get those types of movies that much anymore that take huge risks that are on that scale and on that budget, and I just adore dystopian movies. I can't say that enough, and that's why I feel like I was trying to be so forgiving, but I gotta say, right around, like, the hour mark, I was just fucking bored. I was just so bored. The rest of it, there were some gorgeous scenes that absolutely pulled me back in. The dialogue is like, eesh, that's where it's like, it gets me, man. You spent, like, under 40 years making this movie, and you had, like, a script that you've been evolving, since you started shooting it in 2021, and the script writing was that bad. Like, there's some actually laughably bad dialogue in that movie. There's some decent ones, but there's nothing to, like, get excited about, and it's so irritating how this movie, and I don't really feel bad because it's like the dude should have known what he was trying to make, but, Francis Ford Coppola is a legend within the film world because of, like, the movies that he's done, like Godfather and stuff like that, and, he sold his winery to, like, self-produce the entire movie. He's the producer, director, writer, everything for this movie, and I admire that because he said that, in the early 2000s, like, he will get this movie made, and if it costs him his own money, that is what he'll do. And it kinda sucks to see just all that money being lost, but I can kinda see why all these people were. I don't really think that a lot of the suits at the distributors like Warner Brothers, Sony, and everything make the right decisions all the time for what they greenlight versus what it sounds like they're passing on. But it seems like rightfully a lot of these people were passing and doing the right call for what they were passing on. So ultimately, this is gonna sound so rough, but I'm giving it a 4 out of 10, and I'm only forgiving it because, like, there's some great performances here. There's there it's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful idea that's presented to you. But then again, it gets in its own fucking way. I can't get over, like, I watched some of the most Z grade horror movies, like, made on 50 fucking dollars, And you have to be forgiving on a lot of things, but the thing is I can forgive those because that's a person with a passion that has ambition, but not a lot of money to do what they need to do. When you have $120 million and this is what you fucking crank out, it kind of irritates me a little bit, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of wasted potential. You watch those like B grade, Z grade, D grade sci-fi and horror movies, and it's like, okay, well, these people had a good idea and it was made on X, Y, and Z amount of money. Like Silent Running, I don't believe was a big production, and I love Silent Running. It's a great movie. It's not the perfect movie, but it's great. Saturn 3, great example. It's not a perfect movie, but the idea was there. Had they had some extra money, they probably could have done a lot more cooler shit had it not gotten in the way, right? So all in all, I'm wrapping this shit up. Megalopolis might be the most disappointing movie of the year for me. It's not the worst at all. It might break a top 10 worst movies, but it's more just the biggest disappointment of the year. It's not like I was excited, like pre-order tickets. Went day one, obviously I went on a Sunday matinee for showing, and it's just kinda so irritating, how it gets in its own way. I can't keep that saying that enough. If you saw it, please go down below, comment, leave it spoiler free. Let's not make people not wanna go to the comments. So let's go down there, drop our thoughts, comments, anything, how you felt like it could have done better. Again, spoiler free. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, guys, we got some really cool stuff for spooky season coming up, so stay tuned for some more awesome content. See you guys later.